Fitzgerald and their organization does an outstanding job. Did a great job this campaign helping us win some of these seats. Did you ever think? I mean, think about how much has changed. Look at yesterday's news. Mitch McConnell endorses an earmark more. I mean, it's amazing. This is the 80 freshmen who are coming in, as I've said, and you guys have probably said it all along too. The cavalry is coming, and they are here, and you're already seeing signs of things moving in the right direction, and America getting back on the right path. It was about a year ago at the RSC retreat. Dick Armey spoke to a group of us conservatives there, and he made a statement that I've never forgotten. In fact, I've been using it in every speech this whole campaign season. He said, "When we act like us, we win. When we act like them, we lose." And it's so important to remember that we acted like us this entire campaign season. Frankly, the last couple years. I mean, I give the Eric Cantor and the Whips team, I give them credit. You know, all of us voting no on the stimulus, all of us fighting health care. What we saw manifest itself across this country and really come to the wave crest really on November 2nd was just amazing to see. When we act like us, America wins. That's more important. And now the hard work is for us to act like us as we as we take over in January and do the right thing. So I'm excited about where we're at. I was talking with someone last night. We introduced a balanced budget, the only balanced budget in Congress last April. Offered it as an alternative to the Obama budget, frankly as an alternative to our own Republican conference budget, and got 111 votes. And we outlined a position going back to pre-stimulus, pre-bailout, pre-craziness spending levels, 2008 non-defense discretionary levels, going back to 2008 levels. And now that's the position. So again, conservative position, you're seeing more and more of what we've been advocating over the last couple of years actually come to fruition and people taking those positions. And you're going to see it even more next year when we pass policy and do the things we're all about. And you all know what the election was about: cutting spending, not raising taxes on any single American, and repealing health care. And then I would add the fourth thing is not forgetting those basic fundamental values that make us a great country in the first place: respect for human life, respect for the family and that key institution that ultimately determines the strength of our entire culture, and respect for the work ethic in the free market. That's what we're about. When we stick to our principles, good things happen. They're the party of government, we're the party of principles. We've got to stick to our principles. So I'll stop and I'll take questions, and you can kick me out whenever you need to. Yeah?
George, there's been talk that you're looking to be heading up the Republican Study Committee. How would you be leading it up differently than, say, Congressman Gomer?
That's going to be decided this week. I am very interested in that. The challenge, let me go back to Mr. Army's statement. We act like us, we win. We act like them, we lose. It's much easier to act like us when you're in the minority. It's harder to act like us when you're in the majority. That's what intrigues me about the potential to lead RSC and frankly help harness and direct the energy of these 80 people coming in. So that's what I'm fired up about. I hope I get the opportunity, but that hasn't been decided. The truth is it starts this afternoon. We have the interview process this afternoon. Louis Gohmert's a great colleague, conservative, who thinks like we do on the issues. So I don't want to say anything bad about Louis because I think he's a good guy and a friend. But I'm intrigued. That's always been my role. When I was in the State House, State Senate, back in the Ohio legislature, my role was always being one of those conservatives who from time to time had to nudge and push our leadership in a conservative Republican. When I took over, I'll tell you a quick story. I took over, that's how dumb I was when I first got elected. I took over in '94, election with, Republicans took over the world. We took over Ohio House for the first time in 20 years. Joanne Davidson, God bless her, good lady, but not with us on a lot of issues that are important to me, particularly the life issue. And so she became the first speaker in 20 years, Republican speaker. And we had, if you remember back in '95, the big push for Republicans was welfare reform. And we did a lot of good things, frankly. So we had a welfare reform bill that was moving through and had bipartisan support. Everyone was for this thing. And we were in caucus the night before we were going to go on the floor and actually debate and vote on the bill. And again, I'm just a dumb rookie. I'm just sitting there, and they're talking about what's in the bill, and they go through it all. And there's job training, there's education, all this good stuff. But they get all done, and there was what I would call tough love. There was no tough love component. There was no time limits on able-bodied adults. And so I raised my hand, and they called on me, and I said, well, where's I like all that's in here, but where's the time limits? Where's the tough love component that we need? Well, Jim, we can't do that. And they give you a million reasons why you shouldn't do what you know you should do. And frankly, what I had told the voters I was going to do if I got elected. And so they did that, and they got done, and I raised my hand a second time. And it's funny how like some of your colleagues start looking at you like, hey, idiot, you know, the speaker's just spoken. You're supposed to be quiet. And I said, well, Joanne, if I understand the rules correctly, can I offer an amendment tomorrow which will say if you're an able-bodied adult, after 2 years, we're no longer going to pay you for not working? And then it gets kind of quiet, and your colleagues kind of start looking down because they think, what is this bozo doing? You know, the speaker has spoken. And she says, well, you know, da-da-da-da-da, and there'll be another bill coming. I quickly learned there's never a second bill. You got to jump on the train that's moving. And so I said, finally, I said, look, you all want to vote against me? That's fine, but tomorrow I'm going to offer an amendment. That'll say after 2 years, game's over. And if you want to vote no, and you can go back home and defend that, God bless you. But if you want to vote yes and do the right thing, you're going to have an opportunity tomorrow because I'm offering the amendment. And you do it with a smile on your face. You always want to be the happy warrior. And it was funny because it's amazing how many of your colleagues suddenly find Jesus, if you know what I mean. They're like, wow, this guy's actually going to do it. And they're like, God bless you, Jim. I was with you all along. The next day, truly, I was scared to death. It's first speech I ever gave on the House floor. First thing I ever got passed. Stood up, scared to death, said this is good for every single taxpayer. It's good for families who have to pay taxes. It's good for families stuck in the system. It's the tough love nudge they need to get out of this lifestyle. And sat down, scared to death. You know, it was chaos. They called me all kind of mean-spirited, hard-hearted, good for nothing, low-down, everything. It passed. Democrats started walking up, taking their name off the bill. But it's the law, and it's helped a lot of families. So that's the challenge when you're in the majority, doing it in the right way, picking the right fights, picking the right issues, and then pushing your conference to do what we told the voters we were going to do when we ran for the job. And that's what intrigues me about the RSC position. And we'll find out here sometime this week. Long story to answer a short question. I apologize. Anyone else? And I'll get out of here with her. Yeah.
How do you see the debate shaking out over CR versus omnibus? Do you have any sense yet as to what's going to happen in this?
I mean, who knows? I think more and more Ds are starting to figure out what happened on November 2nd, frankly, what's happened over the last year and a half with the American people. But I don't know that Mr. Reid and Ms. Pelosi figured it out yet, and they're pretty important Democrats in this town, as you know, at least for the next 6 weeks. So we'll see. I mean, the idea that they're going to somehow increase spending, I think, is just amazing. If they're actually going to, you know, look right in the people, in the American people's eye and tell them we're going to do what you told us not to do, I find that hard to believe. They may, because I find what they've done over the last year and a half hard to believe. So with this crowd, you never know. But we have our alternative out there, which goes back to 2008, discretionary levels. We think that makes some sense. Frankly, I think next year when we talk about the budget, we need to be even tougher than that. I mean, look at what Christie's doing in New Jersey. He cut 20%. And people around here say, you can't cut 20% in the budget. Well, you can't because you don't have to. They have to in New Jersey. He did it without raising taxes. Go watch the YouTube video where the Democrats who still controlled the House and the Senate in New Jersey passed the millionaire's tax. When Christie spoke to our conference 6 weeks ago, it was awesome. He got like 3 standing ovations. And he said they passed the millionaire's tax. They said, we got him. We'll dare him to veto, play the class game they always do, the millionaire's tax. They walked the bill to his office. He said, I saw him on TV. I saw him coming, so I got ready for him. And they're coming over, and he sees them, sees them come in. He shakes their hand. They hand the bill. He sits down, pulls out the pen, vetoes the bill, hands it back to him. That is leader. More importantly, he went out and did what you have to do in politics. He went out and told the people of New Jersey why it was wrong to raise taxes on any single resident of New Jersey. We got to make that case. And whenever we argue big picture things about why it's wrong for your tax dollars to be used to take the life of an unborn child, why it's wrong to keep spending and stuff, when we argue the big why it's wrong, we win. When we get into the details on it, that's when this program, you're going to hurt kids. We win on the big picture. He's arguing we can't keep raising taxes if we want to attract entrepreneurs and wealthy people and keep them in our state and grow jobs and create, So that's how we have to do it. And he's a great model. He cut 20%. The idea that we can't cut more than our balanced budget, we balanced in 9 years. And I remember debating on the floor. We were looked at like, you're a crazy radical. 9 years? Go talk to the families I represent, West Central Ohio. They'll say, hey, Jordan, you big sissy, what are you doing taking 9 years? Do it in 3 or 4, like we have to in our business. So that's the mindset that we have to have. And frankly, as I go back to what I first said, that's the mindset I think a lot of these freshmen have when they're coming in. Here and here.
Sure. We had a speaker last week who talked about the results of the election, not just in Congress, but around the country where 26 states are now controlled by Republicans.
Huge.
And there are a whole bunch of others that are controlled by conservative Democrats. And he used the phrase constitutional moment. that there might be an opportunity for a coalition of states to work with Congress to get Congress to propose some kind of constitutional reform. Is there anywhere in the leadership or the RSC where people are starting to talk about this possibility and communicate with states and come up with a strategy?
Great point. And you should have, you guys obviously do what you want, but Scott Garrett is the head of a constitutional caucus. He is really pushing with our rules to have this constitutional statement on any bill that's going to come out of committee and go to the floor. And the idea that, hey, we might actually debate the Constitution around here a little bit. Not a bad idea. So that is certainly, Scott's the guy to talk to on the issue. And him and I had a conversation last week in response on this transition team about that particular rule. Well, you're seeing it on the health care. The 20-some states who have brought the case on, frankly, constitutional grounds on the health care bill. So
we're talking about actually Congress voting by 2/3 to propose an amendment to the Constitution, pushed by states. And that conversation where you talk to speakers and Senate presidents, say, what would you support? How could you get us to? That's a conversation.
No, that's an important dialogue to have. And Scott's the right guy. And he understands this better than anyone in our conference that I know. Certainly the time to do that. Was there one other? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Congressman, don't you think that we need to learn how to walk and chew gum at the same time? And by that I mean, in the past we've
talking about Congress now. Come on.
In the past, we've had some folks like Dick Armey say, "Well, we shouldn't really talk about the social issues," and then you had Governor McDaniel say, "We should have a truce on social issues." I would like to think, as conservatives, we can be conservative and push conservative foreign policy solutions, economic policy solutions, and social solutions at the same time.
I could not agree more. 2 points. One, we're the party of principle. They're the party of government. Our party, the modern Republican Party, the party of Reagan, 4 things: strong defense, less taxes, less spending, defending traditional values. All 4. All 4 have to be in play. I was just talking with Mike Pence earlier this morning. We have got to say Planned Parenthood should not get 1 dime of taxpayer money. Mike's bill. That should be something we push. So you're exactly right. We got to push it. The left always says, "Oh, how dare you Republicans bring up life, bring up family, bring up marriage when we got 10% unemployment." Look at these guys, what they did last year. They brought up the same issues when they were helping cause the unemployment. They bring up don't ask, don't tell. They bring up taxpayer dollars in the health care bill to take the life of unborn children. So the left is, so heck yes, we should do that. And the reason I got into politics was the life issue. You get married, you have kids, you get tired of government taking your money, telling you what to do. I was a wrestling coach and decided to run for office because I was fed up with it all. So yeah, we have got to remember those things. Certainly, it's not the only thing, but we've got to remember those as we move forward. Great point. Look at that. All done. All right. Thanks.
Sean, go ahead.
You mentioned welfare reform as kind of the big thing that happened in the last time the Republicans took over. Do you see, just speculation, do you see some kind of issue or something that we could actually see Republicans and something constructive that Obama and the Republicans could come together on? I mean, I know the case of welfare reform is simply Bill Clinton needed something.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know if this crowd can. I mean, people talk about the word compromise. Typically, when the left talks about compromise, it means, as you all know, it means doing it their way, and that's not what we want to do. And frankly, in my humble opinion, that was not what the election was about. The election wasn't about compromise; it was about stopping, stopping what they're doing, stopping the tax increases, stopping the crazy spending, stopping this health care bill. Americans just they sense. They just don't like all this government telling them what to do. I've said, in the end, this health care bill, people hated the taxes, they hated all the spending, all the bureaucracy, but mostly what Americans hated was the simple idea that here comes the federal government, and they're going to get between me and my doctor and tell me how to do things. And Americans, we instinctively hate being told what to do. I mean, it's part of our nature. It's why we started this place. We actually think freedom and liberty are kind of important. I just read the great book, The Rise to Rebellion, the Shara's novel about 1770, historical novel, what's it called? Fiction? I forget what they call these things, but it was a great book. And these guys were amazing, and don't tell us what to do. You know the old joke, for most Americans, when they're traveling down the highway, and they see the sign that says 55, that's not the limit, that's the challenge. That's how we look at things. And so here comes the government. The federal government, Barack Obama, after most of Americans says don't pass this bill, and they pass it anyway and say, no, we're smarter. You got to be kidding me, in America? So that was huge in this race. So I don't know if we can work with these guys on much. I think more importantly is we got to do what we told people, because if we, I believe this as sure as I'm standing here, if we mess it up, We will be like the Israelites in the Old Testament. We will be wandering around in the wilderness for a long, long time. We got, as Rubio said, we got a second chance. We got to do it right. Yeah.
How soon can there be a vote on a full healthcare repeal vote? And how big priority is that? Because Michelle Bachmann, but also I think Tom Price was very much for total repeal.
Total repeal in January. Do it. I think the first big vote we take in January will depend on what they do with the tax issue. If they raise taxes, then I think the first big vote we do is to repeal the tax increases that they impose. If they do that in the lame duck session, I'm not convinced they're going to do that. If they do the right thing in the lame duck session and they extend all the tax cuts, then I think the first big vote we take is repeal health. We should repeal it, send it to the Senate, and maybe, like as I said earlier, maybe some of these senators found the Lord. Maybe they're going to do the right thing and say, well, maybe we should repeal this thing. I got to run for re-election in 2 years. So our job is to do the right thing in the House, and then leave the results to the Senate and the President. And I say every Friday night, there's always one team that's favored, one team that's the underdog, but they still kick the ball off, they still play the game. So our job is to play the game, do what's right. Who knows what the Senate does? Maybe they agree, maybe they'll see the light. Never know. Thank you all very much.